Welcome back to the State of Survival. Today we're going to be talking about a game my producer told me about called Vane. Our producer is here to talk with me about Vane. Let's go ahead and get into it.
They started doing devlogs like 3 years ago. They released the demo shortly after, and have just been slowly cranking away on it. It's available for free on Steam. Committed to not charging people until they're considering it to be a quality product.
It's kind of an interesting way to go about it because, I bet they would love to work on this full time. However, I think they're making a good choice because there are so many early access zombie survival games out there right now, indie wise, that don't really work out because they can't spend all the money they earn actually paying themselves to work on it. So it kind of fizzles and drops down. So I think this is a smarter choice for them, and I definitely enjoy that.
That, and I think when you get a big idea and you get funding and you get a publisher and you get a staff, now you've got all kinds of time pressure and quality pressure constraints. So we got to release the next version because it's going to sell. We're going to run out of money if we don't do it. Blah blah blah. It forces you into a bad situation, or it can. And these guys are just, like I said, taking the slow and steady. We'll do it, features at a time. Keep grinding on it. They've got a pretty solid product right now. I mean, there's still quite a ways to go, but
Yeah, the demo itself, kind of getting into the details, like you said, is a lot of fun, and it's a pretty large area for you to play in. And folks, we're not talking like bare bones buildings or interactions or even mechanics. They've actually put a lot of effort in this demo area to make it look like the rest of the game will look. Sometimes people when they release demos, they're really bare bones because they don't want to give too much away. In this case, I can see why they're giving so much to us because if they're following Project Zomboid, that's a pretty big task because Project Zomboid is a very surface level fun game, but then once you get below the surface, it's a very big, complicated game. I think about that joke meme where you see the tip of the iceberg at the very top and below it, it's all this stuff.
right.
That's kind of what Project Zomboid is. You can have fun with it, but below it is a lot of complications. And I really see that in Bane in their most current demo.
Right, right. So yeah, like you said, it's an 8 kilometer by 8 kilometer play area. It's varied in size a few times over throughout the development cycle. They've got, I think, 4 towns in it right now. They said their intention with making it a little bit bigger, not gigantic, was to have some roads to be able to drive on because they do have functional cars.
One of the things that I actually enjoyed, and I guess a little bit of an annoyance for me, was the fact that there were cars that had the keys in it, but they were locked. And I'm all
Yes.
like, okay,
How's that?
this is back to my childhood. I remember my mom locking the keys in the car. And what's cool about it is that they have like a little bit of a skill system going on in this
Hmm.
game. But I never had the skill system really impair me throughout the playtime I did, because I put like a good 3 to 4 hours in it. I think the only time I actually came across something where it was like, you can't do this was like me trying to break into the police officer's
Oh yeah.
armaments place. But
Hmm.
I was able to pick like cars, doors, containers, lots of stuff once I found that, by the way. And their picklocking mini games not half bad.
There's just so much. There's so many items. Seems like everything is searchable.
Mhm.
Every bin or anything that you would walk up to and think, I should be able to look in this and see if there's anything there. A lot of games, it's just a static object. Bane, it's openable, searchable. You'll find stuff, a lot of junk, paper, folders, whatever, miscellaneous stuff.
Other things I enjoyed about the Vane experience so far is they have an electrical system inside of the buildings. And apparently there's like a fuse box which you can turn on and off the power, and you can hook up new things to the power like new light bulbs, other stuff that you bring in. But you can also disconnect appliances and stuff. And I found out the hard way with my electric stove. I was trying to make food, and I hit the wrong button and disconnected the electricity, and I spent like 20 minutes trying to figure out how to put it back on before I say, "You know what? There's a house right next to me. I'm gonna go cook there."
Well, the interesting thing is that that system actually extends beyond the houses. So there is a full um, substation system and local wiring. So you can go out and disconnect an entire neighborhood. So that's if you're coming in to steal from people, That's one thing you can do is go to the power box outside and shut it off, and it'll shut off the power for the entire neighborhood.
Wow.
And then there's the ability
That's
to have gas generators and solar systems.
That's the other thing I enjoyed about it, actually, in Vane is their crafting system, while it took me a minute to get used to, was pretty cool. And this also involves the cooking of the craft system too. You had to have the proper tools and workbenches and that kind of stuff to be able to do stuff. With the cooking system, I had to have vegetable oil, I had to have eggs, I had to have a pan, and you have to have all these things, I think, on the stove, from what I found, to actually do the recipe. And the recipes aren't like, oh, you're gonna have to figure out how to fry an egg yourself. It's on the left hand side area, which you can just like click on. But it was interesting because I think the workbenches work the same exact way. You have to put
They
all the
do.
items you want to use in there and the
Yes,
tools to be able to do it. I think I know where they're going with cooking, and it's something that most survival games don't explore is the fact that real meals in real life feel more filling than they actually are. So, like in real life, if you eat a hot um, pile of a meal or whatever, let's say it's a steak and mashed potatoes, right? You could just have ate the steak separately and the mashed potatoes separately, but when you see them on a plate, in theory, it makes you think there's more food. I'm not saying they're doing that, but I can see that being a great way to explain why a steak and mashed potatoes gives you more food than just separately by themselves. But yeah, I think I like that. Also, I could see like giving like slight buffs, like if you eat a meal. Oh yeah, actually, I was eating processed foods and I had a symptom in my medical chart come up that was telling me I'm eating way too much processed food. So I think they're going to reward people who actually eat more regular meals and home cooked meals than just eating whatever slop you find. Because like I think I ate like four four bags of chips. I went up to like the vending machine. This is how involved they are, folks. They have a vending machine and you could put money in it to get the chips or the soda. I'm not kidding you either. I literally like found them inside of the PlayStation. I'm standing there for like, a minute and a half just getting some stuff to drink and eat.
so, yes, it's, again, the details never seem to end. Every time I've gone into play, I find oh my god, it's not just a, "Hey, there's a new item. Ooh, there's a pipe wrench." It's, "What the heck is this, and what would you ever use this for?"
One of the things I enjoy about the game overall is that almost any item you think could be used as a melee weapon is usable as a melee weapon.
Yes.
Like I spawned as a janitor, and you can choose careers, and then you can allocate points wherever you want. But I spawned as a janitor. The starting weapons they gave me were a mop and a wet floor sign. Yep, I could attack the zombies with a wet floor sign. It was hilarious. It broke with 2 hits, but I had a heck of a lot of time laughing at it. That's the thing I love about this game is that there are so many games I've played in the past that common sense would tell me I should be able to use this as a weapon, and I can't. It just frustrates me that I can't,
Right.
right? And I love that fact about Vane.
There was some other stuff. I was in the latest devlog. They had some details that I was like, "Wow, that's impressive." They have a full weather system, that is seasonal, and so you get the effects of snow and so forth, and this is on upstate New York. But the cars can rust, and there is a process that you can sand the rust off and repaint a car.
Wow,
They were
involved.
talking about how it was, the rust was a completely separate system now. It was used to be, I think it was just a texture, difference, but now it actually can get to the point where parts will rust out.
But, we don't want to just talk about all the praises we have of the game. We do also want to talk about some of our nitpicks, right? I think one of my nitpicks is that the UI looks at first like it's very friendly and beginner kind of understanding, but it quickly kind of turns into a yes, I can click and drag things, but did you know if you shift clicked things, it would just automatically transfer? And I kind of wish there was a little bit of a tutorial when you first play this game to kind of give you at least the basics. Hey, this is where the medical tab is. This is how you actually can take care of stuff. And I don't need a very complex one, but just one that tells me how to interact with inventories, maybe pick a lock real quick, and maybe how to take care of my medical stuff.
Yeah, I think definitely a tutorial would be. uh, called for in this case because I had my experience was not dissimilar, but it wasn't just with the UI. It was okay. I played a lot of games. I get in, I can do the basic controls, I can figure out how to open things, how to search things, how to put stuff in my pocket or whatever. But then when it got to, okay, now I want to do more and what can I fight with? And always thinking of games where it's fairly limited and the items aren't expansive. They're just like, oh, you use the baseball bat for hitting things, stuff like that, where you're like, what do I do with this fountain pen? Oh, you can stab, stab, stab with it. Um, so there was a lot of that where there's so much depth and complexity. You can get going quickly, but to figure out the details of it are going to take a while. And when you're just trying to figure it out without any tutorial, I could see how that could get a little frustrating.
I like the fact that I could find skill books that would increase my experience gain for those things. However, if you didn't actually know what that skill book did, you would have just left it behind because it looks like any other magazine. And that's in the inventory system. But if you hover over it, even slightly, it gives you the description telling you this is going to give an experience boost for this skill. So that's actually kind of one thing that I would like them to maybe make a little bit better. Maybe put like a scholar cap in the icon or something, just so it tells people this is something that you can gain knowledge from.
Well, that and some semblance of a skill tree so that you can understand what the benefits are at what levels. And I know they had mentioned, you mentioned level 25 on something, but that seemed to be a magic number for a lot of the skills that once you got to that point, it unlocked a lot of things.
Well, like, for lock picking,
Hmm.
level 25 was the ability for me to break into the armament room for the PlayStation. There were some offices that had a level 25 lock, which was funny because I just walked around the other side and smashed the window, then cleared the glass. But but that's one of the things I love about this game is there was a skill requirement for me to get in there, but then, I looked through the door window, I'm like, "Oh, there's nothing but solid glass on the other side. I'm just gonna let myself in." That's the choice. You made that choice. Would shattering that glass be a smart choice if maybe you were trying to hide from somebody, or maybe you it's near some bandits and they might come over and look if you smash the glass? Yeah, you'd have to make that choice, right? Oh, I can't lockpick this yet, but I can't smash the glass either.
So overall, my impressions are I think that they're on the right track. I think that there's obviously stuff to work on, stuff to improve on. It's definitely a slow burn. It's not coming soon to a computer near you, but you can get in and play. They do have official servers set up you can play on. You can also set up your own. And I think it's just a very interesting, unique model of having people part timing it and getting such a good looking game. I mean, in general, all the graphics, all the models, everything looks really clean.
Yeah, I definitely have to say I like the approach that they're taking. I know you said this is like a weekend slash their off time, but I appreciate that they're not trying to just push this as fast as they can. They really do want to make a good product. And while I will say the demo has a lot of love needed for it, it is a very interesting and wonderful game. Visually, I would say you're right. Everything looks clean and everything else, but it could be way, way better. And overall, it's cool. Like, the car rust system you talked about, the car system being able to fuel them, all of the crafting, everything combined makes this one of those kind of games. Even if they didn't make the graphics better, you would tolerate it because every part of the game outside the graphics is just gold. Well, folks, this has us been out doing our first impressions on Bane. Join me in thanking Red Falcon and saying bye bye to Dimension until next time. Thank you very much for watching the Status Revival. Ta now.
Cheers, everybody.